Hey guys, my name's Ali Popoff and I'm the owner of Power by You CrossFit West Kootenay. Today we're here to talk about
injury prevention for lower back pain.
Okay guys, so to start off the lower back and sacrum series, we are going to first move into an exercise called static back. This is done in this position for 5 minutes. All you're looking for is an object like a box or a chair to have the hips at 90 degrees and so that you can totally relax and just let your legs go. The whole point of this exercise is it is actually from a guy named Pete Egoscue, and his theory is that he uses gravity and time to reduce hip disparity and any postural imbalances. So by having Emily laying in this position with her legs up, it's allowing both SI joints and everything to roll into neutral. It's allowing her lumbar, thoracic, and cervical spine to all release into neutral. And it's pretty much the only time that the low joints of the ear, shoulder, spine, and hip will be in alignment. So staying here for 5 minutes is going to reduce any hip disparity so that when we move into the next exercises, everything will remain in alignment for the time being. If you have a lot of lower back pain, this is one you should be doing multiple times a day and it will help. Once you do 5 minutes of static back, you're then going to move into some glute releases with either a lacrosse ball, if you can handle it, or a foam roller. So I'm going to move this box out of the way for Emily and she's going to move into the first position. Now with lacrosse ball rolling, you can't do anything wrong, meaning the area that you're rolling is going to be beneficial for your lower back. All of the attachments of the glutes come right up along the back of the sacrum. So by releasing those areas, it's going to allow more range of motion through the femur, which is going to reduce lower back pain. If you're rolling and you find a really tight spot, try and relax. And then you can even move, say, your knee open to get into a different area, pause, move it back in. Whatever areas you're doing, try and do the same on each side. So for instance, if you're going to target the outside of the glutes, stay there for the whole minute or two and do the same on the other side. The next time you come to do your routine, maybe move a little bit lower into hamstring attachments. And like I was saying, just be consistent with whatever you're doing. So releasing the backs, the hips is going to allow more rotation even in the next exercise we're about to do. So after spending a few minutes on this, you're going to then take the ball out and lay flat on your back on your mat. This next exercise is called laying femoral rotations, and all you're doing is you're creating more consistent movement in the head of the femur. So you're going to take your stance and you're going to widen it beyond your hips. Good, and go a little bit wider with that one. Good, arms at your sides. Now all you're going to do is allow your knees to fall to one side with keeping the opposite shoulder fixed. She just pauses for about 2 seconds, then she comes back to the center, rolls them all the way to the opposite side into a totally relaxed position. Moving back and forth, you may feel impingement through the fronts of your hips, but as you move through this exercise, it should get better and better. So you would perform this for 10 to 20 reps on each side, depending on how much time you have. Next exercise we're going to do is called the 4-point glute stretch. This is a different variation to pigeon, which actually gets deeper into the external rotators and again promotes more rotation through the head of the femurs. To get into this position, you're in a 4-point stance, your shoulders are over your wrists, your knees are your knees are underneath your hips. Now, Emily's going to take her right foot and she's going to rotate it in. That first creates some internal rotation through the hip. Her opposite leg stretches straight back. Then she's going to take it back about 1 foot and then over away from her body. Perfect. Now, once she's there, she's created some rotation in this hip, and then she's going to drop down onto her elbows. In this position, as soon as you step your foot back, you may already get a stretch. Rotating over is going to increase the stretch. Dropping onto the elbows is the last progression. So if you can't get onto your elbows, it's okay. And another thing is that you don't want the ankle to sickle. So she doesn't want to have the ball of her foot planted and then her foot be rotating a different way. You want the ball of the foot planted and the heel to be directly over top. It is going to give you a better stretch. I would do this for 2 times on each side for 30 seconds. And the reason for that is at about the 30-second mark, you're going to start to lose the form. So by repeating it 1 or 2 times, you're going to know that you're in the proper position. Once you've done the 4-point glute stretch, we're going to move into another Egoscue exercise called gravity drop. So we're lucky enough to have a stationary dip station. At home, you would just use the edge of a step. Emily's going to step up. Important here is the alignment of her feet. So she's going to back her feet up so the balls of the feet are fixed. All she's going to do is drop her heels and then send her hips back slightly. Now, when you're at home or by yourself, you want to constantly check in with your heels and make sure that the toes are pointing straight ahead and that the heels aren't rotating in, because ultimately that means your body is rotating away from the tension. Gravity drop is meant for hip disparity, meaning it's going to bring more balance to the back of your sacrum, but you're going to be feeling a deep calf stretch and you might even feel a little bit of a hamstring stretch. The objective for gravity drop is that you stay in this position without moving for 3 minutes. If you can't do that because of burning or cramping, let's say you make it to a minute, each time you're going to build on that time. Again, with Pete Egoscue's philosophy, it's about using time in order to bring your body back into the proper alignment. So you are going to feel a calf stretch, but this is actually helping balance the lower back. 3 minutes here. Once we're done 3 minutes of gravity drop, we're going to do one more hip stretch before strengthening. This is called seated piriformis. So all you're going to do is sit on a box, and let's move forward just a little bit. Perfect. So in this case, this box is a little bit high for Emily. We would like to have something a little bit lower, so I'll just get you to stand up. I'm just going to flip the sides. Let's see there. Good. So you want your hips to be about the line of your knees, if not slightly below. All she's going to do is take her right ankle. She's going to cross it onto her left knee. Now, important in this position that you keep the toe drawn back. The activation of the leg will promote a deeper stretch. And then all she's going to do is hold onto the front of her shins and sit up nice and tall. For most people, you're already going to feel a stretch deep through the outside of the hip. If you don't, what you want to do is lift and extend your spine like you're trying to arch through your lower back and start to fold forward slightly. If you feel a deep stretch here, I would repeat 2 times each side for 30 seconds. If you have to really extend through your back and fold forward, I would do 1 time on each side for 30 seconds. This gets deep into the glutes, generally the piriformis, and also a little bit of the outside of the TFL. Once you perform the stretch, we're going to move into strengthening, which I think is actually more beneficial than all the stretching so far. A lot of the times, people's stabilizers of the hips are just not fired up properly, which creates a lot of knee, hip, and lower back pain. First thing we're going to do is a set of sideline clamshells for glute medius. So Emily is going to lay on her side. She's going to bring her knees together. Now, variation 1, if you're just starting this, your whole body stays on the floor. The only thing that moves is the knee. She draws her toes to her knees, keeps her heels together, and just opens her knee up into external rotation. This activates TFL, glute medius, glute max. She closes and then opens. If this is hard for you and you feel restriction and burning, start with 3 sets of 8 on each side. If it's not too bad, 3 sets of 15. If it's really easy, 3 sets of 20 on each side. Once you reach 3 sets of 20 on each side, you can start to get into a side plank type action, which is going to be really beneficial for the lower oblique and quadratus lumborum. So she's going to fix her elbow into the mat. She's going to lift her hips up and open her knee at the same time. Drop back down and back up. This I would do anywhere between 3 sets of 8 to 12 on each side. Once you perform your variation of these, we're going to do one more exercise for TFL. So Emily's going to stand up. You would take a band. Depending on the band tension, you would triple or double it. We're going to go, let's go just double maybe. She's going to step into the band and bring it right below the base of the knees. Now, when you're doing these, there's a few different variations. A, you want to start with tension on the band. You keep your upper body as vertical as you can, and you're going to side step one direction for about 15 to 20 reps. Notice how as she moves, now go back to the opposite side, her legs aren't snapping together, so she's maintaining band tension all the way through. And then another option is monster walk, maintaining the same size hip distance or feet distance, and then walking forward and back for more glute and hamstring activation. And then back. With both these variations, whether you're doing lateral or forward, I would do 3 sets of 20 reps on each side. That completes our lower back and sacrum program.